How did you feel about Jason Mitchell, the actor who played your father in Straight Outta Compton?
I think that there was no one better for it. I mean, he was just great. Like, literally, I mean, you know, especially what he had to work with. I mean, he didn't have my father here to coach him and, you know, just really him hang out with him and him pick up on his demeanor. He really just listened to a lot of, you know, stories Dre and Cube told him as, like, you know, as their brother, as a brother. And then he watched a lot of videos on YouTube, a lot of interviews. Like, he really studied him, and to be honest, his hard work paid off. I mean, I'm so proud, and I really don't feel like anyone could have done a better job. I mean, he channeled everything, his personality, his mannerisms, demeanor, just everything. I mean, he was just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I really liked the part when he put the shades on and he went in again to start rapping Boys in the Hood. And
oh, yeah.
In the movie, it was interesting how it was portrayed, how Eazy-E, like, necessarily, he didn't start off as a natural rapper. He had the money, and then he started, like, there. And I thought that was a cool story, how it took a couple of days for him to take that song, Boys in the Hood, and just make it a masterpiece, though, the way he took it.
Yeah, I mean, and, you know, and that was true, and a lot of people don't know that, you know, he wasn't an artist first. He didn't get in to be an artist. What he was a businessman, a hustler, and a visionary, honestly, just someone who took a risk and believing in other talent. And, you know, they don't exactly show why Dre really seen something in him. You know, in the movie, it kind of just suggests, like, just kind of on a fluke, like, you know, you go in there and do it. But really, Dre just seeing something special in my dad, too. And, you know, and that's what was so beautiful about it. You know, people don't know he wasn't an artist first. It's something, he just had like an it factor. He had a great voice, and there was something special about him. But what he really was the driving force of the whole situation. And, you know, just the visionary.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I didn't know that. That's great. Were you on set during the movie?
Yeah, I was.
So
a couple of times.
How was the energy and atmosphere on the set?
You know, it was interesting. You know, for me, I just felt like a lot of things were bittersweet. I mean, you know, and some of the things that I didn't agree with, you know, it's not like that I could change anything, you know. But, you know, it was cool. Honestly, a lot of the stuff that I was there for were a lot of the performance scenes.
Okay.
So, you know, it was kind of interesting to just kind of see the concert and stuff. You know, my mom was actually on the set with me and one of my brothers and one of my sisters. And, you know, she actually lived through a lot of that, you know, being at concerts and being around my dad. So for her, it was really interesting. You know, we were just kind of watching the stories that we had always heard, you know, growing up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was kind of cool.
The one thing I personally didn't agree with was how, like, you saw Ice Cube and Dr. Dre raise a family and have, like, a steady girl. And then, like, in Straight Outta Compton, you didn't see, like, Eazy-E being a family man and, like, the other side of him. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. You know, and those are the things that I know everyone was like, kind of, I don't know if you guys see, a lot of people ask me about the tweets that I wrote and stuff about the movie, because, you know, I was in full support. I am in full support of the movie, and, you know, I didn't want anybody to get that confused, and I, you know, wasn't bashing it at all. It was just a lot of my dad's storyline that was left out. And that was because of Tamika, who does own the rights to my dad, and, you know, she didn't want any of the women shown, any of the people that were in his life. And to be honest, I mean, a lot of it was really against my mom. You know, my mom was the one who was actually with my dad all throughout N.W.A. She was with him from late 88 to 1994. And the last year, Tamika was with him. So she didn't even have, that's why you don't see any of that story, because she didn't know any of the stories to tell. You know, she controlled the storyline, and, you know, all of the real stories were left out. You know, my mom just wasn't a person who was with my dad and had a kid.
Yeah.
You know, she was actually in the business. She was a music manager, and she actually even signed, people don't know this stuff, but, you know, I'll touch a lot on this on my documentary, but, you know, she brought in people like Rhythm D, who produced Real Compton City G. She brought in the writers. She brought in DJ Unique, who pretty much produced all of the stuff for Bone Thugs and Harmony. These are all her producers, and she managed Lil Half Dead and worked with Daz and Dogtown, and she had a connection to a lot of people. Even Suge, to be honest, people don't know, but my mom actually knew Suge before she met my dad. You know, at 14 years old, that was like her big brother. And she had a connection to both worlds, the Death Row world and the, you know, Ruthless world and all that. And, you know, a lot of people, the people that, you know, are my dad's real life, even watching that film, were really frustrated. Like, you know, so much was left out, so much history, and so much stuff that really happened through you, Tracy, you know, and I do blame that on Tamika, and honestly, that was a lot of stuff I really was kind of talking about in the tweet. And, to be honest, like, the reason why I have been in support of the film was because, one, it's a great film and people still need to learn their history. And, I did talk about, it was about NWA as a collective. It's not just the Eazy-E story.
Right.
And to be honest, Dre and Cube and F. Gary Gray, I appreciate them greatly because, they definitely were sensitive to the situation and tried to, make the best of the story that they could to their ability,
And I think, like, a lot of it, which is a tough thing, it's a conflict of interest, you had to, like, sacrifice. Either you didn't want the story out at all, or you wanted the important parts in.
Exactly. And then, that's exactly what it was. And, and it's fine because, I'd rather have what we got than nothing at all. I spoke on a lot of, really me being excited mainly for my own generation to understand who my dad was. And, how he paved the way and how, how he believed in Dre and Cube and how everything happened. A lot of people don't really understand. They know he's this icon, this legend, and they see him, and they know he looks like the whole image, but they don't really understand the history. And, and to me, that was the most important thing. So at least they did get to touch on it enough to where people are like, okay, I see who this Eazy-E was and N.W.A, people my age, they only understand Dre from Beach, and the more current artists like the Eminems and 50 Cent and stuff like that, they knew all that stuff, but they didn't really know the history. And a lot of people, especially Ice Cube, I don't even think people understood how great of a writer and and how smart he was. To be honest, they could see him in these movies. So overall, I think they touched on enough, to get the point across, and I'm really proud of that.
And of course, they dealt with the time limit constraints and all that, just as, all movies have to do. But, talking about that, what's in store for A Ruthless Scandal, the documentary you're creating? Can you give us a rundown on that?
So, I'm producing that with my oldest sister, my dad's oldest daughter, and my mother. And, that's something we've been working on for years. It's not anything new because of the movie came out. It's just great timing that the movie did come out, like I said, to really get people re-educated with the history so that when these true stories are coming out, they kind of understand, But a lot of the real fans, they do know that there was so much missing. And in the documentary, we are going to touch on a lot of my dad's life from personal and just a lot of the accomplishments that they didn't show in film, And then, but it's mainly surrounding all the scandal behind his death, talking to everyone that was just around him, from Jerry Taylor to family members to his artists, what happened to Ruthless, what happened to his estate. People don't even know any of these things. There's just a lot of people in his life. So I know people are wondering, like, okay, you were 4 years old when he passed. How are you doing this documentary? Well, this documentary, it's my mom lived through it, and everybody that was in my dad's life, these are real stories being told, and you'll see me going to talk to them about it. You know what I mean? So it's not like you're just going to be watching me, like, saying all these things, and you're trying to figure out how do I know this stuff. Like, no, I'm going to be talking to everybody that was in his life and everybody that was there, and so see who's to gain what from his passing. It's very scandalous. It's a lot of things that the world does not know. It's very jaw-dropping, and it needs to be told, and there is no better time.